Hi, I'm Chris Rennick. I work for the Engineering Ideas Clinic in the Faculty of Engineering at the University of Waterloo. As part of that work, I employ between 3 and 7 co-op students each term, and this short video is going to describe how I use PebblePad to support those students as they develop into engineers during those work terms. So as part of that work, when I started this sort of process, I had three outcomes in mind. I was hoping to support students as they develop over that 4-month work term that they're with me. I did that through some kind of mutual goal setting, capturing their interests at the start of term. Part of that is also getting them to reflect on those goals at sort of major checkpoints during the term, and in kind of me providing them feedback as the semester went along. I was also hoping that PebblePad could improve some of the onboarding and training processes that I use at the start of the term primarily. And kind of my last and maybe most useful thing going forwards, at least for the Ideas Clinic and documentation purposes, I'm really hoping that PebblePad can help, or could help, document the work that my co-ops are performing during the work term. So to do all of this, I built 2 workbooks inside of PebblePad. The first one is open on the screen here, and this is actually one of my student submissions with their name sort of removed. So this is how I handled collecting evidence that they had completed their start of term training. So I had them actually attach evidence that they had done each of the sort of important training things, and I can click on these and see basically that there is a file attached, and I can open that picture up and verify that they had done their training. This was due the first Friday of their work term, and it was meant to be completed fairly quickly in the first day or two to give them time to finish the next one as well. This template was used for them to set their work term goals, set their sort of short-term goals, 5 years out, so just after they graduate, basically. I wanted to capture their interests, so as I assign tasks and jobs to these students, I sort of know where their interests lie. And I wanted to see basically where they thought their skills were, both technical skills and professional skills. And I actually linked them across to a list of professional skills that the Center for Teaching Excellence on campus had developed, and got them to identify a couple that they wanted to work on during the term. As part of that, I wanted them to think about how were they going to do that, who they were going to interact with, to improve those skills, and then gave them a spot to kind of add anything else that they thought I should know at the start of the work term. So these first 2 templates were due on the first Friday of their work term, and after that, basically every other week for the remaining 16 weeks, they filled in a weekly work log. And these are captured in a workbook. There are 12 of them because they didn't fill one in the weeks where they did one of the other ones. But these logs were really meant to capture what they worked on, what worked, what didn't, what they looked at to try to solve the problems that they were running into, and try to get them to look sort of forward to the next week and, plan out what they were going to work on and what they were hoping to get accomplished. These, especially at the beginning, I was sort of careful to add comments on and to read them very carefully to kind of show the students that these were important, and really kind of set that precedent that they need to be filling these in, and that I'll be kind of watching them as they do that. As the term went on, I sort of stopped checking them that carefully. I was still sending out reminders if I noticed someone hadn't filled one in, but for the most part, the students kind of self-regulated on these. Once they got used to filling in something every week, it wasn't too much trouble for them to fill these in. And so these actually, it's kind of interesting to see as they progress and as they start making decisions. Talking to the co-ops at the end of the term, they actually found these very useful as well, of kind of going back and looking at where they started. And how much they had changed in how they think about things and approach problems. And these were also very useful at the evaluations, both at the midterm evaluation, which is kind of informal, and their formal end-of-term evaluation. And it's at those 2 evaluation weeks where the students had to go back to that first workbook that they started with and fill in another template that I had built. So with this one, these are really kind of the reflective templates that they filled in. For the midterm check-in, they were, looking back at the work term goals that they had set, the skills that they were hoping to develop, and commenting on their progress, basically. I also got them to look at, from kind of a project management point of view, how their projects were going, and to kind of, get them to pay attention to these things take longer than they think they do, and really kind of look backwards on the first half of the work term. Again, I gave them an opportunity if they wanted to write any comments for me. There was kind of a spot to do that. And these I discussed with them in person. So I didn't do any comments on the sheet itself, because I actually pulled them into my office and kind of talked through this. Similarly, at the end of term, tied in with the sort of formal evaluation that our co-op office requires, I had them fill in a slightly longer one. Some of these sections are in common with the midterm check-in. Again, kind of looking at, over the work term, what were you hoping to develop and how did it go? But then also look forwards. And as part of this, I had them try to connect their work over the term to actual learning that they had accomplished. So with that, I had been sort of shown this template of inspired insights, magnificent failures, and unanticipated connections. And I had them kind of think about how they've changed, what didn't work over the course of the term, what they've learned, how does it connect to the academic work that they had been doing. And then again, I gave them kind of an opportunity to provide some feedback on this or on anything about the work term. So this project, not being part of a course, is a little different in sort of scope and in outcomes. I'm obviously not assigning grades for any of this, although I did use these as part of their evaluation. And this end of term one, similar with the midterm one, we talked through this in person when we were filling in the end of term evaluations. And I think in both cases, in past terms, students have kind of struggled to remember what they did 4 months prior. And so that combination of the work logs and this sort of, looking back at 6 weeks of the work term at a time, I think really helped them kind of remember all the things that they had done, and made that end of term evaluation a much smoother process for both them and for me. Some of this, I am looking to change some of it for the future. I think one of the useful things for the work log, in thinking about how these could be used by students as they apply for new jobs, for new co-op positions, and after university as well, I may put a box in here for them to upload screenshots. So if they are working on, say, a computer design of a part or of a machine, that they could upload a screenshot of what that design looks like. And again, it would be kind of a nice way to see how that design has progressed over the 16-week work term. I'm hoping then, if they're capturing those screenshots, because they own that content, they'll have those to show future employers some of the work that they've done. And that was pretty well received, talking to the co-ops at the end of the term. So I'll probably implement that for the spring co-ops that I have coming online. And I am going to kind of continue with this as sort of a pilot for my co-ops for the next couple of terms. Make some minor tweaks and then sort of see how it's going.